It's demo time. So I'm starting to work on tracing and showing which step is currently executing. I'm not updating the completed steps status yet, but I do have tracing speed control implemented in this TSnax library that I'm working on. So this slider here can be used to change how quickly it traces, just like the trace speed setting in TestStand. That is a feature that is implemented specific to the TestStand UI and the sequence editor. So while the engine does publish trace events, if you want to control the execution speed, you have to implement that yourself, which means I'm implementing it as part of this library. And it's as simple as getting the engine instance, which I've got wrapped in a class, of course. This is the UI components for LabVIEW. So it's wrapped up under this UI manager, and we're initializing it here, and anytime the trace speed changes, we're updating the trace delay again. So this is in milliseconds. So if we run this, you can see it starting up. If you haven't seen this before, this also does provide logging capabilities for debugging. Right now, in the testing I'm doing, it's putting a bunch of sequence indexes and step indexes and other stuff in while I'm figuring some of this functionality out. But yeah, and this is a public exposed function for the my engine wrapper class. So any of the code you write could dump stuff into this log as well. This becomes available because the engine was started with debug enabled. So that causes this, the asynchronous engine daemon to be displayed, which can allow you to see what license type was created with and the debug log. But anyway, so this test UI that I'm working with to test some features like dragging and dropping steps and some edit features, and of course execution features. I forgot what I was about to say. But yeah, so let's get to the tracing. Completely lost my train of thought there in the middle. Oh yeah, it automatically opens the motherboard test demo sequence. So opening up a sequence file, creating a sequence view panel, as well as the insertion palette panel. So you just create these two panels with the UI manager, tell them what subpanel you want it to be inserted in. So that's how I can control the UI layout. I've got the regular LabVIEW splitters for handling sizing. But so you create those two panels. We're opening the sequence file right off the bat, setting the sequence view panel to display that sequence. I've got you can view the different sequences here. Don't have all the fancy icons or anything displayed, but you can see the full hierarchy. And then next once I get there's some quirks about the trace that I've got to work out that you'll see. Once that's done, I'll be updating the status as it runs. But pretty straightforward to get this UI up and running. Now if I run single pass, so this is creating a new execution, setting the sequence file for that execution, which we're just grabbing from the currently displayed file. There will be a shortcut method for this created with the UI manager, where in the UI manager you can just say run the currently displayed sequence file in the sequence view panel. So you don't have to do these multiple steps. It'll all be collapsed into a single VI. But creating an execution, setting the sequence file to execute, what entry point to execute, and starting it running, displaying any errors if any errors occur. So let's go ahead and run this. Now I've got the tracing speed set relatively low. Here you can see all of the debug messages that are starting to show up. These are all the UI messages that TestStand publishes. So this will make it pretty easy to figure out how TestStand is interacting and what information it's publishing as you're working on building custom user interfaces. or just custom executions. Here you can see I've got this little yellow marker I've made. It does jump around oddly when it gets to the end of a section, when it's meant to highlight the end of a group, the group close, which I don't have displayed in these lists in my version of the step view. So I've got to do a little bit of handling on that, but there we go. It ran. Here you can see all of the trace steps that the testing engine published and are being used. It's also, I'm not turning it off once execution ends. I would just have to, one of the, this end execution, once this shows up, make sure I clear the marker. I'm not doing that yet. But if we run this again, now it goes much quicker. And we can make it go even faster. So some of the execution stuff is starting to show up in here, including tracing to make it easy to see what's happening. And coming up next are some fixes for the trace marker positioning, as well as updating the status field. If you haven't seen my other preview videos, this is a presentation I will be giving at GLA Summit on Monday. So definitely stop on by, and if you missed that, definitely take a look for the GLA Summit videos to get posted to YouTube a week or two after the GLA Summit.